Doctors say there is something called a door handle conversation, where a patient will turn up, ask a bunch of small questions that don't amount to much, and then just as they are leaving, they suddenly say, "Oh, and I have chest pains or syphilis." A lot of times they're looking for the courage to ask their special question. They're also worried whether their concern is silly or valid. Maybe they need to build trust for their physician. There are a lot of reasons. It is not always easy to ask the big questions, the confusing ones, and the queries that don't quite fit. Like, let's say hypothetically, you had a World Cup winning captain, a man with three double hundreds in ODIs, who changed his trajectory and found his talent midway through a test career. A bona fide all-format batting legend with a lovely collection of trophies. This would be a player who would be beyond questions or queries, just an automatic legend. But perhaps as you leave the room, you just turn around and say, but how can someone as good as Rohit Sharma not be better in the IPL?
You want to swing wildly at the internet like you've got the new pill in your hand, but you keep getting dead battered. Find the movement you want with NordVPN. They are our protection against terrifying cyber threats and wide-batted geo-blocks. NordVPN will help you get through any rights restrictions so you can watch all the cricket you want. We aren't always happy with the wickets we're on. Sometimes we need a change. NordVPN can switch your virtual location so your IP address is ready to cash in. So if you need to get around the internet's rules, or I suppose in our case laws, select NordVPN. They can help you watch a game on a cheaper stream in another country. Give NordVPN the ball and let them penetrate all your vast internet issues. Because if you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. You can also receive a 20GB daily data voucher. The link is in the show notes. Protect your computer like a big hitter is coming for you at nordvpn.com/KIMBER right now.
It is absolutely extraordinary that a player as good as Rohit Sharma, who is batted in the top order of a great team on a decent wicket, has never scored over 600 runs in a year in the IPL. 17 years without that many runs is such a weird record. For MS Dhoni, it makes a lot more sense. He bats down the order. Manish Pandey is a great journeyman and hasn't played that many full years and is on his 7th team. Even the players who have done it in 16 years are not like Rohit Sharma level players. Outside of Quinton de Kock, Gautam Gambhir and Aaron Finch, most of the players here have a pretty good excuse for not having one big year. Now, Rohit has not always batted in the top 3, but he has mostly, and he's been the anchor. It should have happened at least once in a season, but it hasn't. Rohit Sharma is a great batter, pretty much everywhere except the IPL. And we did a cosine similarity matrix, easy for me to say, which basically just means your nearest neighbor type analysis. The player he is most like is not a surprise. It's Virat Kohli, another top order anchor who has played for a million years. In terms of where he has batted during an innings, you can see why they are so similar. Both just had over a third in the power play, almost identical in the middle, and then Rohit has a little bit more at the end, but that could also be from his years of batting lower down the order. But that does not explain how Virat Kohli has so many high-scoring years and Rohit Sharma does not. This is not even a close conversation. Robbie Uthappa picked Kohli as his greatest IPL batter. Do you have AB de Villiers as your greatest ever IPL batter as well?
Greatest ever IPL batter, most impact, sure. Greatest ever, I would say Virat Kohli.
And I think you can argue that he isn't, but he is certainly in any conversation. Rohit Sharma isn't even close, and counting stats aren't everything. But it's not like Rohit has a great impact early in his innings either. It takes him 20 balls to have a positive impact on the game. Most of the players behind him on this list are uber anchors. Yet, Rohit does not have the runs of that kind of player either. The real issue is, outside the first few balls, he's really quite slow in many matches, and he needs to face 4 overs to really get back into the positive. And being that he doesn't make that many runs, he often doesn't catch up. If you look at impact by match, outside a great start to his career, he really hasn't had a positive impact for long periods of time. There is simply way too much red on this for what is one of the greatest all-format batters in history. But when you look at it by season, he was a plus player more or less until 2018. Yes, there are some poor years, but that is still a very good career till that point. Since then, he's been horrendous. He had one golden season last year, but is struggling again this time. But I think the key period is early Rohit. Until 2013, he was on the way to a great career. Back in those days, he was more of a number 4, and you can see how dominant he was in that spot. Since then, largely as an opener, he's been a slight positive on striking, but a negative on average. Certainly not a hopeless player, but also not a plus. Also, because it's Rohit, we have to talk about him versus left-arm pace bowling. Clearly, he's not particularly good at it, though it hasn't stopped him scoring fast. But I think the real issue is that outside of right-arm pace, he's not dominant against anything. Offies he can stay in against and scores slightly above par. But even then, it's not a massive impact. And when the ball spins away, he really struggles. And when you look at him by true 0 and 6s, you see a clear pattern here. He hits an arseload of 6s against pace bowling, but he is truly unremarkable in every other way against every bowling type. He's not bad at anything outside of 2s and 3s, which he avoids with glee, but he's also not really good at anything else. So reading this, you would say that if you were bowling right arm pace to him, he'll hit you for 6. That is an elite skill, but so weirdly, it is his only one. And that should also make him better in the power play, what with all this seam bowling he faces. And he's not great there. A similar thing happens in the 7 to 11 over period, where he's even slower, but still not a plus on average. Later, he's better, and that is when he wants to smash. And maybe that's a holdover from the old way that Indian players would get set and then explode at the death. That does explain why in so many of his years he's been a slow starter. And some of those early years have been affected because wickets have fallen in the power play and he'll come in down the order. But he's also had plenty of times where he's just opened. And so, right now, if you knew nothing else about Rohit Sharma other than what I've said today, you would say he's not an opener. I mean, his numbers in the IPL suggest batting at number 4 or number 5 is his best option. But this is Rohit Sharma. We know these numbers don't hold up. He can open everywhere. Red ball, white ball, World Cups, Champions trophies. He can open for everyone, except Mumbai. Of all the openers with more than 2,000 runs, only Parthiv Patel has a worse record. Rohit is nowhere near the great anchors like KL Rahul and Virat Kohli. Players like Gale, Warner, Gilchrist and Sehwag are playing another sport entirely. You change the Indian blue for the Mumbai one, and he reverts to the no-hit Sharma of the early memes. Nothing shows it better than this. For a long time, he was a similar player for India as he was for Mumbai. Before 2015, there just wasn't a huge split. So as an Indian batter, he's one of the best players in the world. Add Mumbai in front of that, and he's not. Rohit Sharma 3.0, the high-intent machine, stops completely when playing for his franchise. But sometimes your worth can be hidden. Like, maybe Rohit is a beast in wins. Most players have a better record when the team gets a W. But these are the numbers of a decent player. Still not a star. And so I was less interested in winning games and more the winning seasons. The times when Mumbai has won more than 50% of their matches. I wondered if there was some kind of boost he had in those seasons. Clearly, again, he's better in the winning seasons. But there still isn't some boost that helps Mumbai with the bat in those years. And in terms of true values of the Mumbai players, he is certainly not bad. And he's a slight plus in both metrics. But you see him on this chart next to Krunal Pandya. And he's nowhere near the other well-known batters of his franchise. If you widen that out to the league and you look at the greatest players with more than 4,000 runs, he's again at the wrong end of the graphic. He's nowhere near the best players ever in any of the major metrics. Not big runs in a year, not average, not strike rate, not impact. And we know he can do all of these things. We have seen it time and time again, just not for Mumbai. Doctors rule out things when making a diagnosis. They go through lists until they come to their best conclusion, and then they treat from there. What would they say of Rohit, though? The evidence doesn't make any sense. The only sensible conclusion is that he's allergic to the material that Mumbai use for their kits, and it comes out in a rash that only affects his batting. Rohit Sharma should be one of the greatest batters in IPL history. And he isn't. It took God and the demon to build international cricket, but don't tell Johnny Bairstow. 1882, Australia had played one test in England against the god W.G. Grace, and they sucked. So they were playing him again, and it was a tough wicket. But England was in front, so Australia was desperate for a third innings lead. At number 8 was young all-rounder Sammy Jones. After a routine single, he walks down to do some gardening on the pitch. Grace whips off the bails and appeals. The ball wasn't dead, Jones was run out. The Australians were furious. In fact, some of the English players were also furious. But what Grace said went, and the umpires had already given it. Next in was Fred Spofforth. He was known as the demon fast bowler. He was furious, and he let England know exactly what was coming next, which was maiden. There's 12 maidens. I can't count them all. England only needed 85 to win. WG Grace made 32. England only 77. That was the test where the Ashes began. Buy my book, Overthrowing Cricket's Empire, on Amazon today.